Hi guys, welcome back. Do you guys remember this? Yeah, it's my electrified big bird. And if you were with me back then, you know that this bird was created by accident. I was mixing a whole bunch of art supplies together, not paying attention to what I did. I turned around, and the next thing I knew, it went poof, and I electrified Big Bird. It was not supposed to come out this way, but I thought it was pretty cool, and I wanted to find out why. That's how Base Paste came about. I kept mixing things and experimenting. That's why I thought it would be a good idea if I created another Big Bird. Yeah, this one came out a little bit better. I did this on my laser engraver. This Big Bird didn't exactly start out looking this way, and it's actually a mistake. Mistakes happen. Happy accidents happen. So today I thought it would be fun because I have gone through and made so many mistakes to show you my journey. Now, don't worry, this is still an art channel, a coloring channel. I'm just having some fun with this machine, and I needed to show you guys this. So I recently was given the opportunity to review the xTool M1, which is a diode laser engraver and cutting machine. And it is the most absolute fun to be able to create something right from scratch. And I've been trying to create art with it and not just engrave. So I have some things to show you today. Just like when you guys started your drawing, you can laugh at your mistakes. You can look back on them. So this is going to be my way, like a year from now, I can look back at all the things that I did wrong. So this is not a video about my successes. This is going to be a video of how much I have screwed up. Now, I want you to know the screw up is not the machine's fault. It is completely my fault. I did everything wrong, and some of the things came out really funny, and that's why I want to show you. So this is Big Bird. Now, this looks pretty cute. I mean, for a Big Bird. Why did I choose Big Bird? Only because I did the first Big Bird when I electrified him. This, I was trying to create my very first SVG pattern. So I got out a GIF of Big Bird, and I did all the things right and everything. Now it looks pretty good on here. It looks like Big Bird, but it wasn't supposed to look like this. This was supposed to be a cutout of Big Bird, and I was gonna use it as like an ornament, like a tree ornament or something, but it didn't work that way. And if I turn it into the light in the right way, you can see it didn't exactly work. So it still came out cute, but it didn't cut out. It sort of created like a stencil. On top of that, I actually ripped the tongue out, and you can see from the back it's glued in, or I put a sticker there and the tongue is on it, but it's still cute. This is not the worst thing I have done, and I'm going to get progressively worse until I get to the end where you see my biggest fail. I'm also going to tell you how I did it and where I went wrong so that anybody that's thinking about getting this machine does not repeat my mistakes. So let's get started. Okay, this is another fail that I had. This is just artist stock paper. I think this is Bristol vellum, and it's not horrible. To be perfectly honest, if I was sketching onto something and I was doing my own original artwork, and I needed to transfer the art to a paper, but I didn't want all the lines and everything. I just wanted it guided. This is not that bad because now I could take this and I could do my own art using this. So I would say this is actually what I was going for in the long run. This is what I wanted, but it didn't start out that way. I don't know what I did with this, but I know she doesn't look that bad, but you can't color on this. I think I set the settings up, and I have no idea what I did to turn the brown paper white. It doesn't make any sense to me. Still haven't figured it out. After practicing for a while, I did like 3 or 4 times doing it. I finally got my settings right, and this was what I was looking for. So this is another thing that you can do with the machine. It just takes a bit of practice. And yeah, you can set the paper on fire. But we'll get to my fire in... This was also, I guess, not the worst thing that you can do. I did learn a lot. Okay, the next couple were my really beginning things. Like, we had just set the machine up and I was going for my first my first projects. I had no idea what I was doing. We just set the machine and let it do its thing. And I think this was the very first thing we did, and I totally toasted it. It was supposed to be the Stark Industries from the Marvel shows, Stark Industries logo, which I totally burnt. And we tried a star, and I actually bore holes going right through it. You could see it through the other side. So really, epic fail. Then I tried a little Doctor Who TARDIS. Not very good. My settings were way too high. There was no definition in it. I promise I get better. And here's the second attempt. I at least didn't bore through the wood on the second attempt. Now this is funny because this was the second attempt at doing the turtle, but this was my first. And we were all standing around watching it going, well, I think I see a turtle coming. There's a turtle coming. And we watched it burn, this whole entire thing. And the setting is way, way too high. I didn't even write it down. But on this, I have a power of 95 and a speed of 75. No, I have a speed of 80 and a power of 95. Once you're getting the power is up way too high, 95 at a power of 100, you're going to cut through your wood. So that's two more things that were epic failures, but that's okay. I get much better. The next projects, I think I'm going to call this Ghost of Elvis because it kind of looks eerie. And again, my settings are way too high. This is another one. I put some base paste on the background just to see what would happen. But this is too blown out. It was too dark in the dark areas and too light over here. And the mistake was actually in the photo. I did not edit the photo very well. So I learned my lesson on this. I used a power of 70 and a speed of 100. Now this is getting better. The problem was, and I've now learned this, that when doing photos on the wood, etching the photos into the wood, you have to watch out for the grain of the wood. So if you see over here, it looks like he was slashed in the face or has a really, really deep wrinkle. And I'll let you see what that is. And when it came out, I was like, what is that? And it's actually the grain of the wood that it goes down and up and around. And you can actually see it going up through the eye. And so that's a grain mark. Now, the last one I thought came out really good. I really learned about my settings, and I'll let this go in really close. You can actually see the details. Some of it is the grain of the wood, but you can actually see some of the detail. I didn't get a lot of burning, a little bit, but not too bad. And his face is very clear. You can absolutely tell that that's Elvis. I even got some highlights in his hair going. And this was set at power 75, speed of 100, sharpness of 68, and grayscale of 240. I was going to have this project done today, but obviously I didn't. What I didn't anticipate was it was going to rain, and to use my machine, you have to have the windows open, and it was pouring today. And the wind was blowing, so I didn't want to take a chance for the water to start blowing into my craft room and destroying things. But as you can see, I'm very proud of this. I got it and I nailed it. What I'm going to do with it is I'm going to back it up until here with the blue, and then I'm going to put behind it white. It's almost done, probably sometime this week as soon as I fire up the machine again. But the reason why I was so proud of this was something I didn't show you. I didn't show you this. I did it so many times, and you can see this is awful. It's burnt. They were falling out. It took me about 4 or 5 times to figure this out. I didn't lock the layers of the SVG. And I had to watch a couple of videos on YouTube, and one I finally got where they talked about how, you know, your layers can move, and if they move a little bit, what I kept doing is it kept catching fire up here. And as you can see underneath all my other tries on here, I have very crunchy wood, very dark, and there was actual flame with this. This completely caught fire and burnt completely through. The number one safety instruction that comes with all lasers is do not leave them alone. This can happen. This happens to everybody that gets a laser print. Most of the time, it is not the machine's fault. My machine is not faulty in any way. It's user fault. If your lines aren't lined up perfectly, what it'll do is it'll cut the wood twice. Once it cuts the wood twice, you basically get this. The wood cannot hold up to it, and this is such a thin, delicate amount, and it's basically being sheared in half by fire. It burns. This is just the top layer. I've got this layer under too. Look at this, where I just burned it, and the pieces just fell apart. Like, this should not have fallen off. Look how thin that is. And that's because the laser hit it twice, because my lines are not lined up. I do recommend a fire extinguisher in your workroom. I have mine, and not only do I have a fire extinguisher, but I also bought a fire blanket just in case. So I have two, and never leave it alone. So what I've learned is with the supplies, always buy more. You're gonna blow through supplies because you have to do a test run on it. For every material that you use, you have to do a test. And this, I was lucky I was there because it started to burn immediately. This laser hit it and it went immediately to flame. Now, what happened and why did it do this? I put it in cutting mode, and there are those little triangles that you put on the bottom to raise it up. This allows ventilation to go through the bottom, and so the laser has somewhere to go. What was happening here is it was hitting the wood, and then the laser, the heat, just spread out like this. Instead of going down through, line the bed with tinfoil. For safety, it's good, but I'm going to show you what I did to my machine in a little bit when I didn't line it with tinfoil. Now, I showed you this in my last video, and to look at this, just this, oh, it's good, you know, it can't be that hard. This was the final version. I had all these other versions, and each time I learned. I may have showed this to you, I don't remember, but these were the versions before. Keep at it, and eventually you'll get something. This one is the one that we all love. Now, this is a project that I just finished yesterday, and it's for my daughter. She loves giraffes, and this is, I'll let you go see it up close. This is 3-dimensional, and it's done with 5 layers of 3mm basswood. They sell the files on Etsy. They're so much fun to do, but if I had not learned from my mistakes before doing this is now so simple compared to having done this. So this is the first thing you do, and then you can build it up to this. Now, I just bought some files to do even one that's even more complicated than this. My journey so far is only a month, and I really feel confident and comfortable doing this. This wasn't, to me, became very easy. I knew how to check the files that to make sure the lines were lined up. I understood how it was going to be put together. I understood how to set the machine up and how to cut without burning the wood. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how I did this, and I will see you when that's done. Layer 2. I just used some regular crafting paint, nothing special. Whatever I had that matched the colors that I wanted. And now I'm going to stack these. So this one goes on top of this one, and I'm going to glue them down. And this is the glue I'm using, Turbo Tacky Glue. And I'm going to just glue them down and then clamp them and let them dry. On this one, goes on top of this. And when this is dry, then I'm going to take this stack, glue it on top of this stack. The way they're cut, you can start to see the different colors coming through. And once this is dry, I'm going to take the top one, put it on top of this, and it becomes three-dimensional. Okay, we're almost done. I've got all 4 layers put together. We're just waiting for the glue to dry. It sets really quickly. And I got to put the top on and then spray finish it. And we'll be done. This is what the bottom of my machine looked like after I finished the giraffes. I'm very happy I put down the tin foil. Now these are the triangles that you put down. Never forget them when you're cutting, because that's why my wood caught fire immediately, was because I didn't have them in. This was my biggest disaster, and it was totally my fault. I didn't put the tin foil down, and I actually etched the metal on the bottom of the machine. So now I'm stuck with this line. The only thing I could say that makes it good is that it's a perfectly straight line that's perpendicular to here. I can line things up using it, and I have. I'm not that upset about it, but it did ruin the perfect aesthetic of the machine. I talked very briefly about wanting to learn how to do art with the engraving machine. And there is a way of doing color on the engraver, but it involves paint, where you paint the bottom layers of the wood in different colors, and then you set the machine to hit it at different strengths, and it brings out the colors. So these are my first attempts. Now this was awful. I was just kind of playing with the machine, and you can see the trees. If I go in, you can see the tree came out okay. It's very detailed. But I didn't exactly get the colors right, and so that didn't work. My next attempt was a little bit better. You could see the trees, the horizon line, and getting into the water and land. Not very good, but I'm getting there. I've learned a little bit more. The next 2 came out much better, and I learned a lot from it. This was my next one, and I did it on a bigger piece of wood, and the sky definitely came out much better. The trees came out better, and the water. Getting there. What I learned was the way you put down the paint is the most important. In this, I kind of just sprayed, and I was spraying in the wind, and it didn't come out even, so the colors didn't come out as I really wanted them to, but I know. I learned a little bit more. And then the last one I did came out much better. If I can get a further, you can see the rocks in the front, and then the horizon line. Now with this one, I did have to do my own horizon line because I didn't put white. I'm learning little by little. Well, that's my first month's journey into using the xTool M1. I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of fun. I want to thank the xTool company for allowing me to review their machine. I've been having a blast, and I know that I have many, many projects on the horizon with this. And I promise from time to time I'll even show you some of them.